Hi, welcome to Child Development 210 Online. This is an introduction video, just a few things of what to expect in the class this semester. I'm your teacher, Sister Anderson, and this is my contact information. The best way to get a hold of me is definitely through email. I check my email all the time, so it will get the quickest response if you just send me an email. Unless it's a Sunday or a holiday or something like that, I'll always get back to you within 24 hours. I don't have regular office hours, but you can definitely make an appointment with me if you need to have a phone call or a virtual meeting. But most of the time, email should suffice for the things that we need to be discussing. There's also a questions and conversations discussion board for every unit. So you can ask questions on there that would pertain to the whole class. So that way, if someone else has your same question, then everybody has access to that information. So be sure to be checking that questions and conversations regularly. A few things about online learning in general. I definitely understand where you're coming from. I've been in your shoes before. I did my master's program all online. So I understand what it's like to be a student on the other side of this. A lot of great benefits to it, being able to work at your own schedule and everything like that, work around your other responsibilities in life. A few drawbacks would just be that we can't meet together regularly in a classroom setting. And that makes it a little harder to stay motivated, and then we're not seeing each other a couple times a week as far as reminders about class and explanations of things. So it's just a lot more student responsibility in the online classroom. It will be your responsibility to be logging in all the time, to be reading all the announcements and making sure that you're staying up to date on everything that's going on in the class. If you don't log in, then you won't know what's happening. So just be sure that you're keeping up with everything and logging into the class regularly and checking your email regularly. A few tips I would say start early. So if you know there's a due date coming up, don't wait until the last minute. Some of these assignments in this class take quite a bit of time. So you're not going to want to just start on the due date trying to figure out what the assignment is. Give yourself plenty of time to get your assignments done. Like I said before, using that questions and conversations discussion board. If you have a question about something that the actual content, like that's on one of the assignments, please ask it there. That's how we have a conversation like we would in a classroom setting. So that's like raising your hand if you're confused about something. Post something on there, and I will definitely help explain those concepts. I also make videos for the units that give overviews of the concepts that we're discussing, and if there's any confusing questions on any of the assignments, I'll go over some things on there to help you. So be sure to watch those unit overview videos, and you can find those in the notes from instructor announcements for each unit. Also, just every time you log in, going to the announcements section, which is the home page of the class. Um, I'll be putting a lot of important information on there, so just make sure you're reading through those carefully every time. Okay, so expectations, like I said before, staying on schedule. We do have regular due dates, so this is not a class where you can just do everything kind of at your own pace. If you miss a due date for a quiz or something like that, you're going to get a 0 on that assignment because we have to keep up with the normal semester schedule. So please look at that class calendar that's posted in the announcements and follow it very carefully. We will be interacting on the discussion board, so I would ask you to be respectful of other people's opinions and be kind on the discussion board. Honesty is also very important. It's kind of tempting sometimes, especially in the online setting, to just copy and paste something from a website to be able to answer your questions. I have had problems with this in previous semesters, and I know what to look for. So just be aware that there are websites out there that have information, and if you copy and paste directly from there, then that's considered plagiarism. So the best way to answer your questions for your assignments is to be looking through the textbook and then to rephrase that idea in your own words. If you just copy and paste everything straight from the textbook or from other websites, that's plagiarism and that's a problem. So you have to be really careful about using your own words and then giving credit when you're quoting or using someone else's ideas. Also, just make sure you're using your best writing. Be careful about grammar and punctuation and things like that. No texting abbreviations, please. The late policy is 10% deduction for 2 days, and that's only on written assignments. So the quizzes and the discussion boards are not accepted late. Quizzes shut down automatically, so it's just a whole lot easier to be able to take your quiz on time. And then the discussion boards need to be interactive, so it doesn't make much sense to let you do that late when everyone else has already moved on and no one's discussing anything anymore. The last thing as far as expectations is that there is no extra credit in this class. So if you get to the end of the semester and you realize that you haven't done as well as you would have liked, there's not going to be any bonus points at the end or any way of just bumping up your grade a little bit. So the best way to get a good grade in the class is just be consistent throughout the whole semester, turning everything in on time and doing your best work on every assignment. If you're having technical difficulties, you can send me an email and let me know what's going on, but that's definitely not an excuse for late assignments. So um, just be really careful about not waiting till the last minute, backing up all of your files. If your computer crashes and you lose all your work, that's not going to be an acceptable excuse for turning in a late assignment. So you just have to be really careful about having an extra copy somewhere. You can email it to yourself, or you can use a flash drive or save it on a Google Doc. Any way of keeping it somewhere so that way if something happens to your computer, you have a backup copy somewhere. So also you can contact the online support center if you're having problems with formatting files or turning things in, or if iLearn seems to be not working correctly, contact the online support center. And they are the technical experts, and I am not a technical expert. I will try to help you if you're having problems, but a lot of times they will be able to answer your question better than I would if it's about something technical. For the class, we have every unit has 3 or 4 chapters in it, and the units are 2.5 weeks long. The due dates are going to fall on Saturdays, and so there's going to be due dates throughout each unit. So it's a little confusing because like your unit 1 journal will have chapters 1 through 4 within that. So if you just look at the course calendar and try to figure out exactly when the due dates are for each thing, then that way you don't get confused. You know, on the first Saturday, you might have a discussion board due. Second Saturday, you might have a couple of quizzes that you need to take. Uh, on the third Saturday, you'll probably have a journal and a Dear Abby, things like that. So just really pay attention to the course calendar. We have an online version of this textbook. This is the textbook we're going to be using, The Developing Person by Kathleen Berger, but you will get it online. So please do not purchase a hard copy of this book. You'll be able to get it through iLearn. If you do buy a hard copy of it, you're going to get charged twice because they're going to charge you for the online version. So please be sure to not buy a copy of the textbook and you get it through iLearn for the e-version. If you have already bought one, there is a way to opt out. So just watch for that information as soon as you can get into the class and start figuring things out so that you don't get charged twice for the textbook. And then there's going to be some videos and other reading and things as you go through the content on iLearn. A few disclaimers. You might notice some questions seem a little vague or confusing. I just wanted to let you guys know that I actually don't write the quiz questions. I don't write the journal questions. All of the curriculum is given to me from BYU Idaho. So I'm sort of just the middleman. I try to interpret the best way that I can the things that have been given to me. So you can definitely let me know when there's a problem, and then I will just have to then report it to the people who are actually in charge of making up the questions. If there's a link that's not working, that happens almost every semester. One of the links gets messed up. Just send me an email and let me know, and I'll try to get it fixed. Again, I'm not responsible directly for putting those links up, so it's hard for me to know when something's working or when it's not. But if you guys can let me know when there's a problem, then I'll pass it along to the people who actually build the course, and then we can get it fixed. So I know it's frustrating to be working through and then a a link isn't working or a question doesn't make sense, but please just email me and let me know what's going on, and I'm happy to try to make the course as the best that it can be for you guys. Um, Same thing with the quizzes. We're working through trying to switch editions of the textbook, and some of the old questions are left over, and you might be flipping through and you just can't find this information. Just send me an email and let me know. And sometimes questions need to be thrown out. Um, the last disclaimer is just that this is not an easy A class. For some reason, I think people look at child development and they think that it's like common sense stuff you might already know because you have kids or you have been a kid or things like that. But there's actually a lot more to it than that. So just make sure that you're basing your answers on the things that you find in the textbook, the things on the video, more of the scientific kind of aspect, and not just well, this is what my mom did when I was little, things like that. So there's a lot of work that goes with this class. There's a lot of reading and a lot of writing. So I just want you guys to be prepared going in that it's going to be a pretty hefty load. And so make sure you're setting aside enough time to get those assignments done properly. Speaking of, here's the list of the assignments. So you're going to go through the content. You're going to do some textbook reading and you're going to watch videos. You'll be answering journal questions, and the name journal kind of is misleading. It's not just your thoughts on the subject. There really are right and wrong answers to these questions most of the time. So sometimes it'll ask for your personal opinion, but the vast majority is something that you're going to find a correct answer in the textbook. So please be careful when you're answering your journal questions, not to just use your own opinion, but to base it on facts that you're finding in the textbook and the videos. So as you're going through the content in iLearn, you'll read some textbook pages, watch a video, and then you'll answer a question. And that's the pattern that you're going to be doing for this journal assignment. So you're going to be saving it throughout the whole unit. There's several chapters that all go into one journal. Then there's reading checkpoints for every quiz. Each chapter has a quiz. And then there's also a Dear Abby assignment. On this one, it is also like the same unit kind of setup. So there'll be questions from like 3 different chapters all in one Dear Abby assignment. It gets a little confusing, so just make sure to read the instructions really carefully. You're going to be looking for a minimum word count. You have to answer 3 questions for each chapter. So you're going to have 9 questions total on your Dear Abby. So like for the first unit, for example, there aren't any for chapter 1. So you'll have chapter 2, 3, and 4. You're going to have 3 questions for each of those. So again, make sure you're using your textbook and not just your own personal opinions. Then there's also an observation where you're going to be watching a video and answering some questions about it. And then we have discussion boards for every unit. These will be, some of them are just, the first one's just an introduction. Sometimes something from your personal experience will be fine. Just read the questions carefully and make sure you're answering every part of the question. You do need to do your initial post during the first week, and then you'll have 2 response posts. So it's going to be 3 posts total, and that's only once per unit. And then the final, it's open book and there's no time limit. So there's really no reason to stress too much about it as long as you leave yourself enough time. And I have uploaded a document called the grading guide on one of the announcements that gives a little more detail on what I'm looking for in these assignments. Okay, so the last thing is just that we are basing our class on our faith in the Savior. Families are part of Heavenly Father's plan, and this is His work and His children, and it's really easy to incorporate spiritual aspects to the things that we're studying. So I love to hear scriptures or things that you've learned in church or quotes from prophets, and I will be adding those things in as well. So this class is really great for being able to incorporate the spiritual things as well as the more scientific or secular things that we are learning. So I would just encourage you to learn through the Spirit because that's really the best way, and that will set a great tone for our class. So I'm looking forward to the semester.